Hello, welcome back to my kitchen. Today we're making Nanaimo bars, which I think I said that correctly, but if any Canadians are out there watching, please correct me. And if there aren't any Canadians watching, then I'm right by default because you can't prove it otherwise. Because this is named after a city in Canada, so they could pronounce it however you want. So come at me. What we're making today is a no-bake dessert, but that doesn't mean we're not gonna be doing any cooking because there's an egg involved and we don't eat raw eggs here. That being said, the way that we're cooking it is going to be using a double boiler on the stove, which is gonna be kind of fun. I've never used a double boiler before. Sometimes you have pans that stack on top of each other. I'm just gonna put a bowl inside of a pan of boiling water and hope that works. And the shirt I'm wearing today, which granted, the lobster one that I wore for the Brazil episode would have worked a lot better, but it worked betterer, because that's a word, for that episode. And so Canada kind of got stuck with this one. It's a majority red, which Canada, you know, well, there's some white in there. But also, I mean, it's the Nationals, which is very blatantly not Canadian. But I've also never watched the Nationals play, yet I own a shirt for them. So here's to you, Canada. Yeah, sorry. Which is also Canadian. The recipe is split into bottom, middle, and top because you're kind of making layers of things. And I'm gonna run through the ingredients. I'll probably say like bottom, middle, top, just so you kind of know what it lumps together. Just read the instructions before cooking and then we're gonna be good. But I'll show you me making all those. Obviously, you have to do it in order because you can't really make the top layer until you've made the bottom, because then where are you gonna put it? It doesn't make any sense. Why would you do that? So first up, we're going to run through the ingredients and then we're gonna get into cooking the bottom layer, which is technically the only step that involves cooking, but I'm gonna use the double boiler again at the end to melt the chocolate because who needs microwaves? First up, the bottom layer. European butter, the fancy stuff. A large egg at room temperature, cocoa powder, sugar, finely chopped almonds, graham cracker crumbs, shredded coconut. The middle layer, room temperature butter, heavy cream, pudding mix, powdered sugar. And the top layer, chocolate, butter. The first step is to mix the fancy European butter, which I don't fully understand why we have to use that here, because we use both that and just normal butter in this recipe. I guess maybe in this step, it'll like absorb into the graham crackers and stuff, so you might taste it more in the end, but the recipe calls for the good stuff. So that's what I'm gonna use. You can try normal butter, see if that does the same thing. But it's gonna be the butter, the cocoa powder, and the sugar. We're gonna put in the double boiler and just mix it together until it's smooth. So now, hindsight being 2020, because I can't fix this mistake, but you can learn from my mistake. It's not really a mistake, but just a way that you could have saved a little bit of time. The butter, as you noticed, well, I probably cut out most of it, but it being a big block put in there took a while to melt. I would recommend chopping that up into smaller pieces and it probably would melt a lot quicker. That being said, the next step is to add in the egg, and you want to continuously whisk once you add that in, because if not, you're gonna have scrambled eggs, which doesn't sound like a good combination with chocolate. So make sure you continuously whisk, and then once it thickens up a little bit, remove it from heat. Now we want to mix in the almonds, the graham cracker, and the shredded coconut. And the graham crackers and the almonds, like the almonds I got just sliced ones, so just chop that up a little bit more unless of course you want those bigger chunks in there. And then the graham crackers I just kind of threw in our food processor to turn those. I left mine because it says crumb, and my food processor was kind of making it dust, but there's some bigger chunks in there, so I kind of left it in between. Maybe turning it all into dust will be a good thing, or maybe that'll be a bad thing. I'll let you know when I taste test, but that's the way the cookie crumbles in this situation. So mix all those together, and then we're gonna pour that out into a 8x8 that has parchment paper in it. So that completes the bottom layer, and it's recommended between layers to refrigerate so that the next layer kind of goes on a little bit easier and it's easier to spread, especially like the last layer we did cooking, so it's gonna be relatively hot, and this next layer is gonna be kind of like butter based. So if you put the butter on top of that while it's still hot, it's just gonna melt. So make sure that you put that in the refrigerator for a few minutes before putting like the next layer on. The next step is to make the middle layer, which is by putting the powdered sugar, the pudding mix, the heavy cream, and the butter in my case, a stand mixer. You can also do it with like a hand mixer. And then you're going to, I think the term is cream it, which is the weirdest verb to ever use. But just essentially mix that all until it's light and fluffy. And it's gonna probably have like a frosting consistency. So go for that, and I'll see you on the other side. This is a good recipe for like licking the whisk and stuff like that. I'm just gonna talk with this, don't mind me. Obviously this is not my first take. So my first one, I was shocked because I was like, where is this vanilla flavor coming from? I didn't put vanilla extract in there. Like, how did that happen? Is that like butter somehow like playing off of the, I forgot that I put vanilla pudding into it. So this is delicious. Next time I make cupcakes or something, frosting, done. The next step is to take that bottom layer from the refrigerator and spread this delicious goodness on top of it, and then put that back in the refrigerator. Next is to make the top layer, and that just involves melting some chocolate and then mixing some butter in. And now you can do that in the microwave, or what I'm gonna do is I just left that water boiling, so I'm gonna use the double boiler again. Make sure it's kind of broken up into small pieces, similar to what I recommended you do for the butter, and because it'll just melt quicker. Once that's melted, stir in the butter until it is all mixed through, and then you're good to go. Next, you want to take that chocolate topping that we've made and spread it over the bars that we have so far to put that nice kind of chocolate topping on it, and use an offset spatula to try and smooth that out, and then put that back in the refrigerator for 15 minutes. So that last step was a good example of the hot meeting butter layer because it started melting. That last step probably would work better with a team, or taking the topping out of the hot bowl and putting it in something else that's easier to pour from, because I was burning my hand and had to, like, it was a struggle. And the thing was melting and I was panicking. I think it's fine, but it was a little stressful. So keep in mind that that chocolate is hot and it's gonna start melting things, so you gotta be quick and efficient. I believe in you. Be better than me. The next step is we're going to score the chocolate because it's been in the refrigerator for 15 minutes, so it's kind of solidified a little bit. We're gonna cut kind of 16 squares, and that's just gonna allow us later, when we actually properly cut the whole bar, the chocolate on top won't crack, so it's gonna kind of already be pre-cut and it will stay nice and pretty. I said we're almost done, but the next step is to wait 2 hours. And it's a little late for me, so it might become a wait until tomorrow, but with the power of editing and the fact that I'll just wear the same shirt, you won't know if it's been 2 hours or 20. So you're welcome to guess, but I won't tell you. So I'll see you in 2 hours, and we're gonna do a taste test. These are looking good. I'm pretty happy with that. The melty tops I was a little concerned about, but these turned out far better than I expected. The true test. It looks good, but does it taste good? There are so many things going on. I mean, right out the gate, delicious. The flavors go together really well. The recipe did describe it as like salty and sweet. I'm not getting a whole lot of the salt, but it's like sweet, but it's not too sweet. There's a lot of sugar in there, but it managed to kind of mellow itself out, and the textures are great. You might have seen I was not paying attention to what my face was looking like, but there's a moment when I hit like the graham crackers and it got that crunch going on in there. Ooh, that was delightful. It's the base has some like nice like chew to it, and then the top layers, like you get the crunch of like the hard chocolate and the smoothness of whatever the pudding frosting, I don't know, whatever that layer is called. That, and then you get like the crunch and like the chew from like the coconut and like the nuts and stuff. Ooh, that, I feel like, which, I mean, first off, 5 out of 5. We're just gonna say that, Dunzo, make this. But I wonder what it would taste like with pretzels instead of the graham cracker, or maybe just in addition to. I feel like that would, because then you get like that salty and sweet kind of vibe going on. And I mean, like leave them in kind of like chunks or something, or like just kind of put them in there and you get like a nice like crunch from that. I might have to give that a go. But overall, delicious and super easy. I mean, the waiting 2 hours was rough, but it's just sitting around. So there's nothing stopping you. Go out, make these, have a little culture, try something Canadian. If you're in Canada, you just keep doing what you're doing, because you're doing it right. And on that note, bye Mom, still not dead. See you.